Simon, hello. Good to see you.
Hello.
How has your week been, my friend?
It's been really good. I know it's been unbearably hot and we'll always complain about the weather, whatever happens in this country. But do you know what I've loved doing? I've been getting up early, taking my dog for a walk before it gets ridiculously hot. And then in the evenings, just sitting in the garden, working or reading. It's so great. I love that life. I love the summer.
I think for our American listeners, they probably don't realize, they probably think England's this wet and dreary place, which in the winter it definitely is. But in the summer, the heat is unbearable. It's like, it must be like 35 degrees today. But I grew up in South Africa where temperatures get to like 40 degrees, but it's more bearable than the UK because there's less moisture density in the air. Absolutely crazy. Like, I'm actually struggling to breathe right now.
Oh my God, that is going quite a long way, Jayden.
People die in the
desert.
People die in the sea.
They do. Yeah.
Guys, just to the six viewers who have dived in early, just do me a massive favor. Please just give us a share on whatever platform you're viewing it on. It is how the live streams grow. Obviously, the crypto markets are a function of attention flows, and when the prices go down, there is obviously less attention flows and less interest in kind of people listening to these topics. But we stick at it, Simon. We do this every week, and I'm really impressed with the consistency. This is episode number 41. We talk about crypto, NFTs, some of the stuff that's happening in the TokenWorks ecosystem, some of the macro stuff, which I guess we're probably not as interested in. We don't really talk about politics. We kind of keep it at bay a little bit. I just want to start with something a little bit different. Have you seen the viral videos that's been going around of this guy called Gary Stevenson?
Well, I've been reading about it, but I haven't seen this actual video. Was it with Piers Morgan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he is a wealth activist, and he started his own YouTube channel. Obviously started at zero, like everyone, and then he started taking sound bites out of some of the things that he was saying. So he basically he set up a camera in his kitchen. He tries to put across the whole, I'm from the, I'm a council house, I'm a project of a working class family or whatever. Or when the reality is a bit of a facade because he's a multimillionaire. But he does these videos in his kitchen. He then snippets them up and puts sound bites on the timeline. They get a shit ton of views because it's all very popular stuff, especially with people from working class backgrounds, which I am from as well. I grew up on a council estate. I grew up in South Africa. So I know the mentality of people is very much hate the rich and like, why should they have all that? We need to tax the rich more. Whereas the conversation is very nuanced. And I think what is happening at the moment is he's actually starting to be found out. Very smart economists are sitting him down and asking him questions. And there's kind of major gaps in his research around basically just the logistics of taxing wealth. If for foreign investment, would you tax that? If you're not going to tax that, then why would you tax local people? Will it chase away all of the wealthy people? There's 150 billionaires in the UK. Then if they leave the UK, what gap does that leave for people to pay tax? So it's really interesting, the nuanced conversation. But recently he went on Piers Morgan, and I don't know if you saw the episode, but
no, interesting. Were they comparing how much they had?
Yes. So you have seen it.
No, I was reading this article about it, and the guy who was writing the article, obviously it seems to be an economist, and he said the trouble is so much of what this guy is saying is so sweeping and generalized, and as you said, isn't nuanced at all. It's very black and white thinking and exaggerating and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But it gets views, and I guess this is the issue with modern day social media is you don't need a qualification to start talking about this stuff. I mean, we very much present ourselves as enthusiasts in the space, which we are. I happen to think you're a top expert, especially with NFTs, because of the way you look at it.
A nerd,
very underrated,
complete and utter nerd.
Yeah, a nerd. If you ever end up on Piers Morgan, I'm doing a hit piece on you. He doesn't know shit.
do that, or do me good.
And I'm going to bring up a fucking cheat sheet of all the stuff you've done in the past and all your failures in NFTs. Now,
yes. What can I say? I hope Piers Morgan doesn't try and compare his wealth to mine then. I don't really want to go there.
Piers Morgan screws up a little bit because he suckers Gary, who now is involved with the Labour Party, but he suckers Gary into telling him his net worth when he doesn't want to, because he says to Gary, look, I'll tell you, if you tell me your net worth, I'll tell you mine to the nearest 5. And he says, well, it's 5. Gary says it's 5 million. And then Piers says, I have much more. It becomes a pissing contest. And it's just one of these things. But this video here is kind of where things kind of break down for Gary Stevenson. I won't play the whole thing because it is 2 minutes long, because it will be sat here like it's a bloody cinema. But I'll just hold on 2 seconds. Let me just see if I can zoom in on this. And I'll put the volume up for the people listening in audio. But just have a look at how uncomfortable he is and how he kind of bails out of this, because he's kind of been trapped into a corner here. The other thing, but is that there are questions as to whether he was one of the top traders at Citibank. There's actually former staff there were just saying he was just on a normal desk, and he didn't actually do that very well. But he's obviously sold himself.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
But look at his behaviour. Have a look at this.
Piers, I don't want to be on the parapet. I wish I didn't have to be on the parapet.
But you put yourself on the parapet.
Yeah, listen, what did I do before I was on the parapet? I was at university.
You do books, you do a YouTube show.
And where was I before that?
I can't think of a bigger parapet.
Where was I before that, Piers?
Well, you were in the world of making money.
No, I was at university. I was 2 years at Oxford studying inequality. And what I want to be, to be honest, is in a library with smart people figuring out how to build a wealth tax.
But nobody's forcing you to do high-profile stuff.
No, nobody. I'll tell you, nobody is. Nobody is.
No.
But if I was in the university...
So why are you complaining about it?
No, I'm not complaining about it. Listen, if I was in the university...
You're playing a little bit like you want the old violin out. Woe is me.
Piers,
my life is tough. Everyone's criticising me. Which I'm like, if you're going to come out with quite dramatic economic policy and you believe fundamentally this is the solution, you've got to be prepared to take criticism for it.
I know, and I'll take a lot of criticism for it. But listen, I don't do this for me. I don't do this for you. Listen, I know that if we don't deal with growing inequality, then ordinary British people will fall into further and further desperate poverty. And I know that's going to happen. And I see it happening. And they see it happening. I don't want it to happen. I come out here. I tell them, if you don't want your kids to be poor, you need to deal with this growing inequality. The only way to deal with that is growing taxation. And you want to know how much I'm worth, you know what I mean? You want to know who my girlfriend is, you know?
I don't care who your girlfriend is.
I don't really
Unless
care.
It's Kim Kardashian.
I'll be honest, listen,
but...
I'm quitting soon. Yeah, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the Gary Stevenson show. I don't want it anymore. What I want is for this country not to fall into poverty. I've told my piece. If you want to understand what I think about the economy, go watch my YouTube. There's 200 videos there explaining in great detail the economy.
But you know a lot of economists. We've got 2 of them here, right?
Yeah.
They think a lot of what you're saying is bullshit.
Yeah, and Christian Niemitz is paid by billionaires to argue. Oh, who funds you? Who pays?
Right, we don't need to watch the whole thing, but my God, it's car crash stuff, bud. I don't know, like that is obviously one video that I've seen, amongst others, where he gets interviewed, he gets pushed into a corner, but what he does is the real high level ad hominem stuff. When a smart economist comes on and he says, "You've been paid by billionaires," and he tries to kind of disavow, and I'm like, this is fucking and the main argument that people have is, what is wealth, and at what point do you stop taxing wealth? Because his idea, bearing in mind he's now in with the Labour Party, and for our American friends across the pond, the Labour Party are basically in charge of they're the leading party in government at the moment, and he's helping them with economic policy, and his idea is that if you hold assets, you have to pay tax on it on an annual basis. So then it becomes, well, what is wealth? Like if you have a house, which is like £1 million, what he's suggesting is that you're going to pay 2% on that. So you're going to have to pay like 20 grand or whatever it is a year on it's crazy.
Well, I was seeing a couple of things. You can see by his body language that he was deeply uncomfortable. He talked in generalizations. I know he was being pressured by Piers Morgan, but I felt that what you want is someone to just give you a nugget of substance and a little bit to back up what they're saying. But he could easily have just calmly had a different approach and just said, okay, I'm just going to capture some examples for you, so I'll make it tangible. This is why I say what I say. Bang, 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 bang. But it was all, and it wasn't really going anywhere. I noticed he said, went to Oxford University. Which is great. And anyone who can get there, fantastic. There's no judgment about that. But I was trying to sort of work out where he sits in his background. And when he started blaming that guy, you're paid by this, as you say, the moment you're doing that, it looks really, really bad.
Yeah.
Also, it was almost like he was saying, I'm going to retire from this because I want to go into politics. It was almost, I could see him. So I'm going to, and it was lots of contradictions, lots of generalizations, substance, and very defensive, basically.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess just for context, if people haven't seen him, obviously he goes majorly. We just had Tay, who's chucked something in the group. He said, "No, Jay, his proposal is a 2% tax on those with £10 million in wealth or more." Okay, so I stand corrected. Thanks for adding that in there, Tay. Tay is on social media at the moment because Egypt got absolutely basically burgled by Argentina, which to be honest, being a neutral, I kind of agree. I don't know how the ref gave some of those fouls, but it is what it is, and I'm enjoying some of the stuff that Tay is putting on the timeline. I think one has got the FIFA president with Messi feeding him a bottle.
I know. Actually, it's going back to what you were saying about. It's be interesting to know what he actually does think about with assets. But of course, what I was thinking when you were mentioning that was the whole point of blockchain, the whole point of decentralization is to allow many more people to take part in investment and to be having a chance, isn't it? So, and anything that would dissuade that wouldn't be great.
But have you heard
tax people still?
But he says that, and then in a second breath, he says, "Have you heard his views on Bitcoin?" I always think that's a good litmus test. When someone gives an opinion on something they don't know about, it exposes what they actually are. Yeah. And he's someone who's just winging it. I mean, he's winging it. He's like, I can see whenever I've been uncomfortable in a situation where I try and wing something, I have the same behavior patterns that he does. Very reserved, shoulders crossed like this, or like whatever. I don't try and put myself in that situation where I'm winging it. But I think he is someone who is got very fucking famous very quickly, sharing these sound bites on social media. He's fighting for a cause which I completely agree with. I just think it needs more nuanced conversation around it. Like, I grew up on a council estate, so I know that a lot of, and I know the mindset of, and just for context, those are, I guess in the US you'd call that the projects, would you? Or I don't know if you'd call it the same thing, but they're basically government housing, and like when you're around those people, they just think the system's against them, even though you're getting fucking free housing. And I think loads of people are on board with him, which is really interesting. So I'm glad we showed that, because that's what's going viral on the timeline. We can kind of move on.
Interesting.
Move on from that. In terms of other stuff, I mean, obviously, the crypto cycle at the moment is an interesting one. I'm seeing a lot of people on the timeline suggest that the bottom is going to be in October. I've started doing these videos now where I ask Grok a question and make it really nuanced. I'm like, Grok, pretend you are a macro investing expert. You're going to use every scrape of data you can between these dates. And I want you to tell me when you think the cycle bottom is going to be, and tell me your reasoning behind it, and blah, blah, blah. And it's really interesting. And I film it, and the videos go viral on different platforms like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing.
That's interesting. Yeah. And what does Grok say? I've got no bloody idea.
No. Grok doesn't do the I don't fucking know. Grok is like, yeah, this date, this amount, fucking DCA. And I'm like,
it's like that really. Grok is that specific, not like, well, it could be this, or it could be that.
Yeah, if I request it, if I say, okay, be specific,
it's very decisive.
And then what you get is people who are like, see, I told you so. And then the same people on previous videos that didn't agree with Grok are like, see, she doesn't fucking know shit. You just use AI for investing advice, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, it's not that deep. This is just a little bit of fun. Ironically, Grok is saying October, November. Obviously, November's the midterms. I think Trump gets, I think he gets trumped in the midterms. He gets absolutely crucified in the midterms if crypto prices aren't up, because you've got like 28% of his voter base who all own crypto and are down financially. I'm not saying that that's going to lead them to not vote vote for him because he has been crypto friendly compared to, I guess, other political parties. But where do you think we are in the cycle, Bud?
I've been thinking about this, and of course, no one really knows at all. One thing I tell you what, I think some of it's a psychological thing for me, because I've already made my mind up, just for my own sanity. Nothing's going to be happening until later on in the year. So get into that mindset and think about when you haven't got that expectation, what it does actually open up in terms of digital assets and crypto and investing. You know what I mean? I've sort of given myself a bit of a talking to about, because there was a little time when over the last couple of months, I was really having fun and diving into all these different things. But then I just took a step back and said, it is fun and it's not costing me very much. But actually, what am I doing? Am I just chasing, like we said, we were talking off air about, it used to be in 2021, you jump into something because you had the rush of it all going up, and it kind of was almost going to happen. And sometimes I've wondered about myself, and then maybe other people do this, you kind of hope for a little moment like that when you jump in to something. The difference this time is I'm only putting little amounts in, so I'm not going stupid, and I'm putting more into the long term. But we were saying, weren't we, without going on too much off topic, that the thing about it for me is, when do you do it? Because I definitely want to buy another Chimpers. I want to buy another Blendersaurs. I do want to buy another Doodles, just because I'm liking what I'm seeing all three are doing at the moment in the bear market in their own way. But then I was thinking, why am I thinking of it? Do it now. Why now? Because it used to be that I go, I really want that. I'm going to do it now because I think it's going to go up. It's about timing as well.
It doesn't feel like there's any obvious catalyst, is there?
No,
I mean, I've just looked at the prices of
crypto. Don't do it, but it just means that it's a good time to go. It's a good time to go. What am I seeing out there? Where teams are doing fantastic things against the odds. That's the first thing, which is a big telltale sign. The ones who aren't and the ones who are. But then the next one is, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to rush. I've already got one. I'm not going to rush. You were saying something about the market. You were saying about coin market cap or whatever.
No, I just think there's just no obvious catalyst to send prices. I was just checking it. CryptoPunks and all of obviously the blue chip stuff. It's over the last 120, I guess 150 days. It's up, and it's held a stable floor price based on ETH. Obviously, ETH has been crushed, but the multiplier works the same way. We're getting a bit of engagement here from Tay, and I just want to address a comment that he's put here. He says, regardless of his imperfections, he's obviously talking about Gary Stevenson. Anyone crying out about inequality should get our support. He's not wrong that most of the media are billionaire owned. I completely agree with that. Tay, we're on side with you there, my friend. And then he's obviously put another comment here. Picked up my third Apple the other day. Shame Burge isn't here. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So you can start competing with Burge.
Well, this is it. I think it's interesting. Obviously, in our Carrot Lane group, we've got Constantine, who's the community lead for Curio Cards. And a lot of people have leaned into the Apple as just kind of, there's too many people that get tribal about especially in the historical community. Ours is first, or there's like, yours isn't fully on chain, and they get into these mid-curvy arguments. And I just think if you just own the Apple, you capture the trend of all of the historical assets largely because of the story behind it, the lore, the fact that there's it's been auctioned off at Christie's. I think the floor price of the Apple went to like 23 Ethereum, and now it's like you can buy one for 0.4, which is really reasonable. I think Tay the other day actually got into mutants, and I think,
that's a good move. I think it was.
Yeah, I think
sold one VeeFriends Series 1, terrible, I know, and he got 2 mutants. Is that right?
You got 2 mutants. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's a good play. I think the way that Gary's doing it with VeeFriends, he's not drawing enough eyeballs onto the NFTs, and the community around VeeFriends Series 1. I think where VeeFriends Series 1 may come into its own is obviously the specs, because people collect the specs. But if there's an added utility layer, like if he does actually say, listen, you own a Series 1 and you actually do own a piece of the VeeFriends IP, that may be something different. But when I look at and you can do this yourself. If you post a picture, and I say a picture onto X of a VFriends NFT, and then you do the same of say a mutant that you might own, and you look at the engagement levels and the attention flows that each of the assets get, they're completely different. And if you just keep this really simple, it's just attention, at least the buying flows. And if you look at Bored Ape Yacht Club, that's the entry level. Although the dogs might be a bit lower, but the mutants just have the social signaling element.
Yes.
Yeah. So
just want to say quickly though, going just to round off, so I know it doesn't become a thought never finished. You're saying about where we are in the cycle and how it obviously ties in with NFTs, digital assets. I kind of feel like I'm in that feeling I had before with these situations where you can't quite believe it is going to come back. And you always have that feeling. And I remember a number of people who've been in it a lot longer than me, like 10, 15 years or whatever, would always say, everyone always feels that, and then it always comes back. And what I've definitely reconciled with is use this time between now and when that is to really get your house in order. I mean, I'm telling myself that, not other people. Get my house in order about what I'm really doing this time.
There's a guy, what's the Solana project with the dog, Bodargo's Pio? We follow each other. I met him in Minnesota, and he said something really interesting. He said a lot of this stuff just seems obvious in hindsight. When it happens, you'd be like, oh, that was obvious. It's like some of the stuff like mutants or Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think now we can it's not too far-fetched to think that Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to go back up to all-time highs again, because we can see that it's had the Lindy effect, it's survived, and actually largely the community is stuck together. And in fact, they've gone to Ape Fest for the last 5 years, so the community is actually stronger. Then what you have is this core, like what Alex Hormozy says about 1,000 true fans. Well, fucking Bored Ape Yacht Club, we've got about 50,000 true fans. And when you put something on the timeline, it just goes parabolic. Like, even if I put it on LinkedIn, mate, you should see some of the comments I get on LinkedIn. People recognize it and they go, oh, the funny ape pictures, blah, blah, blah. Whilst not simultaneously not realizing, why do I recognize this? Because it's getting attention flows. And my attention will eventually drive to buying flows. In the same way that we had with Bitcoin, except the NFTs have an art layer. And I think it's
I agree.
It's such a hack if you can look at NFTs through that lens. And obviously I like what Tay's done there with the apples, because there's always a reason for people to go back to that project. And that's the first ever one sold in that collection. And then the mutants is the lowest entry one. And we know with crypto is that it's kind of like the market responds to the lowest entry ones first. Bored Ape Yacht Club has got a large mind share in the same way, I guess. It's synonymous with this space. It's like if I went out on the street now and I said, right, do you know anything about NFTs? I reckon most people would say no, but there would be one or two people that would say, oh, the monkey pictures. Yeah. So it's got a mind share in the same way, I guess, ketchup does to red sauce. It's kind of got that same.
You're right. And can I just say, I don't know if I told you this the other day, my son, because they're always saying to me, my children, why the hell, what are you doing? Tempted to sell my Messi now after his.
Just for people listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify, that was a plug, by the way. So go and follow that. It's actually in the link in my bio. You can listen to this back if you miss any of these. But Tay has said, tempted to sell my Messi now after this BS World Cup. Tay being an Egypt supporter, and obviously Messi playing for Argentina.
And I'm sure that Tay is now fully behind England.
Yeah.
Surge forward. Still feeling.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I think his last comment was he didn't want to watch any more of the World Cup. So we'll see. We'll see. But his Messi is interestingly. His Messi he's referring to, which is a project called Rap Strikers, which just happens to be the first ever sports NFT on the Ethereum blockchain. In fact, on any blockchain, based on the most popular sport, first ever NFT, low supply, and on the 2018 World Cup, and Messi's rookie card. So you might rage sell it now, Tay. In fact, I'll probably buy it off you. But you may face some pain in a few years' time. Rather just have it as a layoff as a bit of a, okay, he shafted me in the World Cup, but actually I've made some money out of his NFT.
Absolutely. And Tay, I'm just thinking, because you're so understandably upset, you don't rate Messi at all. Very happy to take it off your hands for free. Share my wallet address. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But my son said to me the other day, who, for the last 5 years, my children think, oh, don't talk about NFTs again. Great, you think they'll be actually more into it than me. But and then the other day, suddenly, it was about 3 weeks ago, probably, my son suddenly said to me, by the way, I've heard NFTs are dead. I said, excuse me, what do you mean? And it was like saying, and I said, where did you get that if you don't know anything about them? And he said, I keep seeing it on my TikTok or wherever he's on, or people are saying it within his. So all I can say is the only way is up, really, from here. That's how I see it. Well, and the thing is, we know what we because we're so deeply inside this bubble, we're seeing the teams and the projects, the collections that are still doing things, particularly the ones that are reaching outside of Web3 bubble. And that's what I'm really excited.
Well, the psyop, Simon, is the fact that most of these people are engaging with NFT projects without realizing it. I mean, I'm in a group, in a sports group, or a cricket group, because, as you know, I'm going to the World Cup in October. That's a little plug.
Over 70s,
over 40s, mate.
Over 40s. Sorry,
I didn't know where I was going with that. But yeah, sorry. They share the Pudgy Penguins GIF, and also there's a whole bunch of them on TikTok that follow the Chimpers account. So I'm like, guys, you're not real, and a whole bunch of them who know who Gary Vee is. So you got to try.
Yes. You got to try. Do they? Yeah, of course they will. Yeah,
just do marketing or whatever. So you got this trifecta of, oh, this guy's main business is an NFT project. His number one business. He's basically saying he'll literally go to zero to make this thing work. Then you've got Chimpers, and people play around with the screen and stuff, which is kind of playful, not realizing that's an NFT. Its origins are an NFT project, and the Pudgy Penguins and people sharing the Pengu GIF is like, guys, that's an NFT project. And then also a whole bunch of people who are swanning around with McDonald's cup that had the doodles drawing on the side. I'm like, guys, you don't know. And then people that went to Starbucks when they had their Odyssey rewards program.
I know. And it's going to happen more and more.
This is really cool. I get the rewards, but now they're digital. Yes, fucking NFT, guys. You're not.
I know. Don't you know what it is? I know. You go, yes. You finally put 2 and 2 together. And you suddenly realize the possibilities.
Yeah. But obviously we get it. And I guess we go a little bit geeky with it, and everyone else gets it. But I think now is a big opportunity, because I think certainly between now and the midterms, sticking to the sweet spot. This is not financial advice, by the way, but I just kind of speaking out loud here, as you would say, Simon. This is advice for myself. I'm internalizing this myself, which is
absolutely
sticking to the battle-hardened majors, and then the NFT projects that have some historical significance, cultural art, or IP plays where you understand the founder's ability. And your ability, Simon, is to find the IP plays, because you've got a sixth sense of this stuff. Is there anything that you're looking at the moment?
Well, I was just going to say that, funny enough, do you know what I was going to do as well? Because about Claynosaurs. And the reason I talk about some of these is not personally because I'm just thinking they are the only thing out there. It's because, the ones you see are actually doing something innovative. And as I said, going beyond this bubble. I was just going to go and check again, because with Claynosaurs, they've opened up the share allocation for long-term holders, in the actual company.
So you get shares in the company?
Yes, and I'm just literally was wanting to unlock to see what I've got. But so I have been, I've locked in my Claynosaurs for about 2 years, or whatever it's been. How long? I don't know how long it was that you could do that for. Plus the length of time you've held it. It is equal to how much you get an allocation of shares, and they're allocating 15% stake in the company through shares to all long-term Claynosaurs holders.
Wow!
So and I think that's again a really interesting move, and because there was a time when I almost felt like holding the NFT, whichever it was, felt like having shares in the company. differently, didn't it? Because in a weird way, it felt like you had some ownership of the company. What you've actually got is ownership of the collection, of course, but you haven't necessarily got ownership beyond that, which is not a bad thing, because you hope that as the team and the success of the company, that the NFTs will benefit. But this time, it's actually by owning an NFT, you've now got you've got some skin in the game at the real cutting edge part of it. And I thought that was just a really interesting. I think I got something like 700 and God, I want to say nearly 1 million, but I haven't clearly got that. So very interesting.
I imagine you'd have to find a buyer for those shares if you wanted to sell them, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like you could go through a broker and just go, okay, I'm going to sell, because they're not listed on the stock markets. They're not liquid.
It's true, actually. God knows
what, actually,
I mean, what it all ends up with in the end.
It's actually
so go on. Yeah.
No, it's a really clever idea to add. It's actually a very clever idea to add value to holders as a value add, to make you really feel a part of it, but also lock up NFT supply. So there's more supply friction, and that just, I think, is a clever thing. It'd be interesting.
I think it is as well.
Because on Solana, they don't have a strategy token, right?
They don't, but they have a Hebrew. Is it? Because, of course, what they also started was the Hebrew Studios, which is going to be, I think, was mentioned months ago, about the fan-driven kind of approach to launching films or movies or series. And obviously, they want to put themselves at the heart of that. But I think it's designed to be a platform beyond Claynosaurs. And there's a Hebrew token, and I may be wrong. Someone maybe correct me who know more. But I think there's also part of that. You get some Hebrew allocation as well. But I may be wrong. But I just think that's really interesting. And I didn't even know why. I just locked it up because I thought there'd probably be some rewards at some point. And by the way, anyone who buys one now isn't getting that allocation at this stage. It might be, I mean, they're genuinely rewarding long-term holders, if you know what I mean. I think it's great as well.
It just shows you that there's no real ceiling to what founders can do. So really, it just comes down to their commercial ability and their willingness to give. Because it's like, like, obviously we know Good Vibes Club, great project. Two Brothers there, Chimpers, another great project. You can tell that they've got the best intentions. They want to give as much to their community, but there's nothing stopping them down the line giving away shares in their company.
Well, exactly. And maybe they will. And I think what will happen is, we've often talked about how many founders or leaders will turn to a kind of royalties model, the way Chimpers transferred into that. And when we spoke to Betty from Deadfellas, she said we've gone back and forth on this, and we still don't quite know what we're going to do in that regard. I mean, maybe I might be missing something, but I can totally see why some collections would do that. I think it's a choice, but I back Deadfellas for doing that. I own a Deadfellas. But other people might have another view on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. In terms of any other stuff that you're looking at, we obviously had another member join our group. A few people got into this Gremlins NFT project. A few people really cooked on it, which was really interesting. So there's obviously stuff. This is the thing about NFTs.
The
whole market gets crushed, but they kind of happen in silos. And if you're in these little communities and you understand what's going on, you can kind of dive on top of it. But I think he might have put like $40 in and got like $650 back or something, which is interesting. There's obviously still stuff happening in the NFTs.
Yeah, it is. And I keep seeing on X this kind of some maybe long-term holders saying, I can't work out whether it's because they missed the opportunity. And legally doesn't turn an NFT into security. No, it won't.
No, It's only if they pay royalties, Tate, or they give a dividend, so they can't do that. I think Rec Guy.
It's a separate thing, isn't it? It's,
Rec Guy.
They're just choosing to give shares for people.
Yeah, so it's like a, you essentially just claim. Yeah, but there's some rule or something that you can still sell the NFT, but you get to still own the shares, which is why I guess Claynosaurs have probably locked up the NFT or asked you to lock it up, which is interesting. But yeah,
but
that's.
Imagine others could go down that. Can you imagine if Bored Ape Yacht Club did it? Yuga did that.
They would ask you to pay a little bit of money towards it as a bit of a crowd raise. You would do it as a crowdfunder. If you're as big as Bored Ape Yacht Club, you'd do it as a crowdfunder.
Yeah. But so I think I've seen some things on X where people have been saying, and I can't work out whether it's just a very wise voice, which it probably is, or whether it's someone going, damn it, I missed that. But they are saying, all these people who are aping into all these new things, give it a rest, guys. Go and invest in the tried and tested, which I know is a truth, but you can't. People want to have fun as well, don't they? As long as they're not stupid with their money. They want to have the fun of the NFT space and not just the long-term of it all, if you like.
That's right. I think the mental stimulation of NFTs far outweighs just being in coins. In fact, I think being in coins is frustrating because you don't have a community outlet. So what ends up happening is you get these tribal people that take to the timeline on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they're just toxic in the comment section. And I'm like, you actually just need to be in NFTs because you don't have an outlet. And the way that NFTs organize community, and actually the way that you can actually just interact with a community of people that are your tribe, and then you don't hear any of the outside noise of people saying your project's bullshit because you're in your community and you're with your tribe. It makes it a much different and purer experience, notwithstanding the fact that you actually do meetups. Like if you have an NFT, you meet up. Like we did a meetup, obviously in Soho. We've had a couple of meets because you're an hour up the road from me, but we've met through NFTs. VFriends last year, we went to Shropshire, which is an hour away from me. I think that's right on your doorstep. But we had
very close.
There's like 30 people there from VFriends, and there's people hooking up, and there's relationships going on, and there's like this is an American company based across the pond, and we're meeting up over here. So it's mad how people organize
NFT dating. Definitely, there you go.
The problem is it'll be
token access.
It'll be too top heavy with men, mate. Which
I mean, true. That's true.
You might be happy with that, Simon. I don't know.
I'm not happy. Well, I'm very happy to meet other human beings, but yes.
No, I'm only joking.
No, but I was going to say to you is talk about meetups. You know, Ape Fest.
Yeah.
Which of course is the big meetup for apes. It looks like it's going to happen at Beeple Studios, doesn't it? That's what I'm seeing on the timeline.
Interesting.
Which I think
is in October.
Yeah, October. And I was looking at my diary thinking, and I might have to cancel a few things because I was thinking, I have been to Ape Fest before when it was in Lisbon, and it was great. And it's not just that; there's other things going on. But to have an excuse to go to Beeple Studios, first,
it'd be so good,
fantastic. And secondly, you just know because of Michael Figge's, as in CEO of Yuga, and his long-term business relationship, and apart from anything else, with Beeple when it was. Was it called before the? Oh, it just took my tongue. We knew, which was the organizer, the company they both formed together in the early days. They've got a long history, and I suddenly thought, I know with Beeple events, there's often some real kind of perks for doing it. Not that I'm being mercenary about it, of course, but didn't he do one where all these things drop from the ceiling and you could unlock it and there's a QR code and you got NFTs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And knowing what Michael Figge's like, whose history has been on staging massive events very successfully, and a winner of a lot of awards before he got into this side of things, I could just see him and people organizing something amazing. So
that'd be pretty cool. I think.
Quite cool. Do you want to do a Carrot Lane meetup? We
need to. I don't think it'll be quite on the level of Beeple just yet. But did you see the one he did in Miami? I think it was Miami Fest or something. He obviously had those robot dogs which were shitting out.
Yes.
They were shitting out basically
those photos.
Those photos, and then obviously you could. I think you could exchange it for an NFT, and then the NFTs were selling for like 10 grand. So he's going to do a lot of stuff like this. But I think we're at a weird time now where like the degrees of separation between these people isn't far. You mentioned Michael Figge. He followed me the other day on X, which is strange. Obviously,
it's because they value anyone. It's a big thing about if you own a mutant or a Bored Ape.
Yeah,
maybe
it's the community aspect. Yeah, I mean, Die with most likes, obviously. Coldy. So there's all these guys that kind of like you think, okay,
yeah.
Victoria Badandi, another one. She's in our group.
Yes, absolutely. I wonder if there are many people in our group who might go to this Ape Fest at People's Studio. I was going to say something about the whole thing about the following, and Michael Figge. I just wondered, I've said to him private messaging because I have met him twice and he's such a great guy. I've said we'd really love to have you on Carrot Lane, and a couple of times he said I want to, and I said I know you're probably the busiest person in NFTs right now, but he wants to come on, and maybe it was because of me, Jayden. Maybe he said, who is this strange, obscure person, Jayden Levitt? And then he had a look. He went,
Simon, I know you're more connected than anyone I know.
No, I'm not at all. I'm not at all.
You are my overlord, my friend. If you... I want to segue into the TokenWorks ecosystem. Obviously, I've been reading some of the comments. I know Adam, he is doing his best with it. Obviously, he's seemingly coming out with a new project, which, to be honest, looks beyond clever. But obviously, Punkster or Punk Strategy has largely been crushed. It was something that kind of captured our imagination when we first got into it, largely because of the other NFT projects that were adopting strategy tokens. And they have obviously a flywheel which goes back to burning Punk Strategy. So obviously something deflationary is really popular in crypto because it's something going down. It's just fucking obvious supply and demand. But what do you make of that ecosystem at the moment? Do you think you could probably focus a little bit more on Punk Strategy? We have asked him a few times if he wants to come on, but we haven't really had a reply. So
he come on and
snip at this bit.
Give him hell.
We're going to snip at this bit. We wouldn't give him hell. We'd be nice.
No. Look, the guy is so innovative, and we were saying before, weren't we, the last couple of weeks? He's so innovative and creative. That's probably what drives him and gives him his energy, and it's probably why he then moves on to other things, because he just is so into creating new ideas and innovations. But we did say at the time, didn't we? Some teams embraced their own Chimpsters or their Vibes Club or whatever it was, Vibester. And it was very interesting to see that you can do things with it. It's not like this static thing. You can be creative and you can really integrate it, and it's up to the individual collections to do it. That's why I was saying before, in a way, you can see his argument. I've done it. It's over to you now to do what you will with it. But you know the benefits of it for your collection. You know what the benefits are possibly for your community, how it can drive excitement. And I was saying to you that what the new thing with Chimpers have done is taking away a lot of the restrictions. That's come through this week. And I made a little bit of a list of a couple of things that it looks like it will be able to do. If you think it might be useful, just to very quickly share that.
Yeah.
So what the restrictions actually were before, obviously the Chimpster could not be freely sent between wallets. Holders could not even transfer it to their own cold storage wallets. There was technical limitations blocking compatibility with central exchanges, etc. And felt locked, felt quite restricted. What's changed is it now functions a bit more like a standard ERC20 token.
Yeah.
Freely send it between wallets. Move it into cold storage, interact with compatible on-prem infrastructures, and the technical barrier to potential central exchange listings has been removed. But the protocols fees still do exist, which is kind of good. And so there's still the buy, relist, burn flywheel. But what it also says is that, the ecosystem synergy, the same day they also dispersed their 400 held chimpers NFTs, which were previously a concentrated sell wall around 1 ETH, into randomized listings. So new buys auto relist at similar spreads, etc. So there you got it. There's a collection that isn't moaning about it. They're getting on with it and doing what they're going to do with it, and I think that's really.
I think the strategy tokens have just solved a really big issue around certainly the TGE, because there was a bit of a disconnect between a token launch and an NFT project, because people would front run the NFT to make the claim for the token and sell the NFT while they've driven the price up. Then you got people buying at the high prices to make the claim, then selling the token. And then what ends up happening is there's downward price pressure on both, whereas that kind of flywheel kind of keeps the value in the thing or within the ecosystem, but also allows people a lower entry into a project. And I think it's such a good mechanism.
Why do you think that perhaps established and new collections haven't embraced it as much?
I think it's just attention. It's like they don't know enough about it. There's a lot of people I speak to. I do like consultancy calls on LinkedIn for people who are wanting to get into NFTs, and largely no one's heard of it. Largely, a lot of people are going down the same playbook of the launch the NFT and then do the TGE as a reward mechanism for holders. But that's just not going to work because it's going to hurt the entire ecosystem. There's too many tokens this cycle. As in contrast to last cycle, we've got too many tokens in circulation. And I think largely, and this is not me going to give any advice to Adam, because I think he is doing a very good job with some of the stuff he's obviously coming out with, but just to have some business development or some commercial development or some bridge between, okay, firstly, there needs to be attention flows on what he's doing. So how can he reward content creators or have some program in place for people who are going to do thoughtful content around punk strategy? That's the first one. I wrote a piece that went viral about the punk strategy trade. I think it got like 50,000 views. I posted it a couple of times. And it gave a little bit of clarity to people who didn't really understand it, because I was trying to make it clear for myself. So when I want to do that, I write about it. But people aren't aware of it. If people aren't aware of something, surely the first thing you do when you have something, and he calls it his golden goose, is to make people aware of it. It's like, right. And how can you do that? Well, firstly, you have a community of people who now have a financial vested interest in the asset. So they want it to go up. But you also have some very smart people in the community who are prepared to talk about it and explain it and do content around it. And those are the people that he should be leaning into and not avoiding and not putting his guard up and saying, no, well, fuck you guys if you don't like it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I mean, he could even employ someone for bursts of time, even if it didn't want to be full-time, who he really trusts is brilliant at explaining and helping to onboard founders, leaders, the projects onto it. So it doesn't have to be hugely a big marketing thing. It's a kind of educational onboarding a process, because then the collections themselves, the founders themselves, will do the marketing. You know, he just needs. I would have thought it would be within his own interest to have someone or a couple of people for some time just to be there to actively encourage and onboard. That wouldn't cost a huge amount of money, and it would make him money, would it not? Each time someone comes on. And it would be exciting, and people would talk about it, and so forth.
I think so. And then also, don't forget, these are just network adoption models. So the more people in the network, the better. And it's just like, I can't believe he didn't, like, if you've got Betty from Deadfellas knocking down your door, and you've got a cult following, he should have bit her fucking arm off. It's the same with World of Women. It's the same with the other projects. And it's like, a lot of this stuff is now a miss because obviously market conditions are a little bit softer. The attention flows aren't there like they were. it will come back because obviously it's an automatic mechanism. So and it's largely just indexed against CryptoPunks or correlated against the buying and selling of CryptoPunks. So it will go up. It will go up because it will burn.
I agree. And actually, talking of Betty, we're talking off air about teams who, despite everything, the bear market, are still out there. And that's the people I love to see working hard, being innovative, not moaning about it, just doing what they're going to do and what they can do, focusing on what they can do and not what they can't. Forget about where we're at in the cycle. She's, as you know, I was saying, come on and tell us about your new venture, because she she had an idea clearly which she shared with Syke, her husband, who's the technical and creative kind of person behind everything in Deadfellas, and he obviously liked the idea. Now I don't know the actual concept fully, it's going to become revealed, but it's called the God Pool, isn't it? And it's I remember her just saying, if you want to become part of the sort of like early group, just let me know. And I did. And I'm in the God Pool private or
you're deep down the rabbit hole. Well, the good thing, Simon, is that you've teed us up an interview with Betty, which is hopefully we can get it done next week. I know she wants to do it after the mint. I would actually like a lot of the Carrot Lane lot to maybe get some allowance or something. So we'll see what we can arrange.
She's basically saying something to do with omens, and obviously she's still keeping. They've obviously got this theme, haven't they, with Deadfellas and that side of the horror or the mystical. And she has said, "Look, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make this bring back a bit of the fun in the space. That feel too risky or intense, and it's just going to create, she thinks, a lot of excitement and enthusiasm." And I was thinking about this. We've all got good ideas, but of course, the great thing is when you've got a collection behind you, you've had for 5 years, you've got a platform, haven't you? And people will be interested. So I think all, the Chimpers, Claynosaurs, Doodles, even with their new Toy Factory kind of AI generating tool, which could turn ideas into physicals. I could see Doodles sort of looking to branch out into toy manufacturing, or certainly partnering with manufacturers. When I see that, I'm thinking, God, this is exciting, this space. I know it hasn't borne financial fruit yet, but we are in a different place to 2021. None of that was happening before.
But also I think that's more of a platform for people to lean into the stuff that has that kind of Lindy effect of surviving. But also the beauty is that you can see the ones that have worked. Like you say, the Claynosaurs and the V-Friends and the Chimpers and the Good Vibes Club and the
Bored Ape. Yeah, and Pudgy Penguins there.
Pudgy Penguins. I'm going to miss a whole bunch out of the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
It's nice to see, but there are a lot who aren't as well, aren't there? And that's the thing. It's showing itself.
It is showing itself. We're sort of coming to the end here, Bud. But are there any projects that you're looking at, any alpha that you can share, any niche nuggets that you think that you're looking at? I know you're doing a lot of stuff with AI at the moment, which is interesting. But just anything that you're looking at the moment?
No, I tell you what I was, though. Was it the Robin Hood, the collection that Sam dived into as we talked about Gremlins? Flip and wish I'd dived into that myself. Crikey, good for Sam, especially as he's quite new to NFTs, isn't he?
I think that would have been his first NFTs ever bought, and now it's done like
my God,
it's crazy. Well we were all there in 2021. All the first NFTs we bought did 10x, and it just completely changes your psychology.
How's he done that in 2026 though? I know. In 2021. But one thing I was going to say, my personal thing is I am definitely now turning my attention to those that are doing things that, despite everything, and doubling down into those and not spreading too thin. I want to go back into, and that includes Deadfellas, and it includes Claynosaurs and then Chimps, everyone who is doing that kind of thing. That's where my focus personally is at the moment. And I've got to do what you always suggest, and I have done a bit, but I need to do more ones with provenance, historical value. They were there first. I think that's always great advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the obvious low-hanging fruit, isn't it? Because the biggest thing is you miss the trend. You get into this because some of these big ones are going to fail. These big projects are going to fail.
They are.
They can't all be successful.
Only the ones I've got.
Only the ones you've got, Simon. And I just think to hack that, history and culture just basically just bypass all of that. But I just want to say a massive thank you to the 72 of you that have joined us on this live stream. If you want to get the recording back, you can just do it through the link in my bio. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you ever miss these streams. We're back next Wednesday. Maybe we're not back next Wednesday, but we're back next week sometime. I'll probably let you know in the email when I send it out to you. But I really appreciate you guys joining. Until next week, Simon, thank you for your input.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers, pal.
See ya.